In dealing with the character of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam, we come to the talk about how he used to deal with a particular segment of the community, and they are the elderly people, those people who are older. How did the Nabi deal with them? First thing we want to bring to your attention, Ikhwani, is everyone is not created the same in Al-Islam. Everybody is not equal. There is an equality in Al-Islam. Inshallah, we'll deal with that at another time, but everybody is not equal on the same level. So as the Muslim lives and he navigates in this hayat of a dunya, he has to know that he has a religious responsibility to, every time he meets people, at every gathering, at every assembly, on every street, every time he meets people, he's in a constant process of weighing people and putting them in their proper place. Aisha radiallahu anha, what was collected by Imam Muslim in his introduction of Sahih Muslim, she said, Umirna an nunazzil an-nas manazilahum. We Muslims have been ordered to put people in their right places. So everyone does not occupy the same place. For an example, the prophets and the messengers. When the Muslim looks at a prophet or a messenger, when he reads about a prophet or a messenger, he looks at the prophet and the messenger as being ma'asum, infallible. So if he reads a hadith, for an example, that he doesn't understand, he will never make a tuhma and an accusation or have a problem with the prophet or the messenger, because he knows that the position of that individual is not like the position of someone else. There's an authentic hadith, Sulaiman, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh, he said, I'm going to have relationships tonight with 99 women. Each one of them is going to give birth to a mujahid who's going to come and he's going to fight fi sabilillah. The angel told him to say, Inshallah, and he didn't say Inshallah. So none of those women became impregnated except one. And when she gave birth to the child child came out deformed. Someone reads this authentic hadith. The Muslim lady, she says, how could Sulaiman do like that? What's wrong with Sulaiman? La. If a Muslim reads a hadith, he sees an incident he doesn't understand about a prophet, a Rasul, he knows that they are the best of the human beings. So they have to have a good opinion of them. If Isa ibn Maryam came back right now while we're living, because the Nabi told his companions, when Isa comes back, then relay my salams to him. So the Muslim, that's an amana that the Nabi gave. If Isa ibn Maryam came back right now and he said, I want to marry your daughter, one of your daughters, he comes out of your house. You go home and he's coming out of your house. Isa ibn Maryam is coming out of your house. And he says to you, I married your daughter, she's 10 years old, 9 years old, and you weren't here. The Muslim is going to say, he's a Nabi, he's a Rasul. He's the most appropriate person for my daughter. Because he's a Nabi, he's a Rasul. And that's just an extreme example to help you understand this point. We don't look at everybody the same way. The ulama of Al-Islam, they're not like the ignorant people. Allah mentioned in the Quran, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِ الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Are they equal, those who know and those who don't know? Those who don't know are not like those who know. Those who worship Allah and they know what they're doing are not like the people who worship Allah and they don't know what they're doing. So the scholars are not like everybody. So therefore, a scholar takes a position, for an example, against you. Your teacher, he does something. He's a scholar. He says something, he did something, you didn't like it. You can't deal with him the way you deal with just a regular person. You have to have sabr. You have to deal with that situation. You just can't come again and punch him in his face, poke him in his eyes. He's a scholar. The Nabi says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-ulama'u warathatul anbiya. The scholars are the inheritors of the anbiya. So if we look at the anbiya a certain way, we look at the scholars a certain way. We don't put the scholar on the level of the anbiya. No. But by virtue of the fact they've taken knowledge from the anbiya and they're the ones disseminating that knowledge, we're going to look. So this particular scholar, I don't like what he's doing. I think he's causing problems personally. But to say his name in a bad way, to make ghiba about him and to have hatred, we make dua. Oh, Allah forgive him, guide him back and so forth and so on. He's not a regular person. The one who memorized the Quran, He's not like the one who didn't memorize the Quran right now. Someone is Hafid of the Quran right now. He's not like the one who didn't memorize. Even if he can't give any fatwa, if you ask him, he doesn't know his elbow from his ankle bone when it comes to fatwas and knowledge. He just knows the Quran. Not he just knows, but he's a memorizer of the Quran, that's it. He doesn't have knowledge, just that Quran, that's what he knows. He's not a scholar. But he's not like a regular person who didn't memorize the Quran. In respecting him, you're respecting Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Anyone who respects the institutions of Allah is a proof that they have taqwa. He hears the adhan, he stops talking. The Quran is being recited, he stops talking. He respects the hijab. He comes to the masjid, he doesn't steal a book. He can steal a book out of the masjid. He doesn't steal because it's a sign he has taqwa. This is from the institutions of Islam. So the point here is, the one who memorized the Quran is not like anybody. Your mother and your father, they're not like anybody. The Muslim is not like the non-Muslim. So the point here is, the Muslim has to weigh people every single day. He comes in contact with people, he has to weigh people. One of the people we have to take into consideration, and this is something that has been lost, is the elderly in Islam. Those people who are older are not like those people who are not old. This brother right here is not like the brother right here. This young brother right here. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was approached by a Bedouin, and the Bedouin asked the intelligent question, Ya Rasulullah, who's the best from the people? Who's the best? The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, Man tala umruhu wa hasuna amaluhu. The best one from amongst us is the one who lived a long time and he had a lot of good deeds. He lived a long time and he had a lot of good deeds. Right now in this masjid, for an example, there is someone, an elderly. How old are you, my man? This brother is 21 years old. 21 years old. Someone in this masjid has fasted Ramadan more than he's been on this earth. Ramadan. Some older person fasted Ramadan more than 30 times, 40 times, 50 times. With what is inside of Ramadan? Only Ramadan. Laylatul Qadr, Taraweeh, feeding people, the Eid Salat, slaughtering. Someone did that 21 times. He's not like that guy. So it is crazy for this brother to meet someone like this. For an example, he doesn't know him. He doesn't know his details. But when he meets him, he has to weigh him right away. This person is older than me. He has more in the bank of good deeds, inshallah. You have to assume that than I do. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in showing the position of the elders. He said, Man shaba shaybatin fil Islam kanat lahu nuran yawm al-qiyamah. Anyone who grows white hair, that white hair will be a cause of nur, a source of nur for them yawm al-qiyamah. A man or a woman, your mother, your father, your grandmother, grandfather, the bus driver, the Muslim bus driver on the street, in the street, he's not, his hair, you don't have any, you don't even have a beard yet. So when you look at the one who has white, you're going to automatically respect them. Now I'm really talking to the youngsters here, but everybody. And this is not something that's only for the Muslim. This is not only for the Muslim. We have to respect older people who are kuffar. White people who are around here, Sikhs, Hindus. When the Muslim meets them, you have to respect them in Islam. Older people have been given rights. The Prophet ﷺ used to prepare the people to go make jihad. Before sending them for the jihad, he would tell them ﷺ, Intaliqu bismillah. وَقَاتِلُوا عَلَى مِلَّةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا شَيْخًا فَانِيًا. Go out and fight in the name of Allah with ikhlas. Go out and fight in accordance to the religion of the Nabi. Fight and make jihad according to the Sunnah. Not blowing people up, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, all of this stuff. Not that. Fight in accordance to the Sunnah. And then he said, do not kill the old man. Now obviously if the Muslims are going to go and fight, the old man that they're going to kill, who's going to be their opponent, are not Muslims. The Muslims are not going to go fight Muslims. They're going to go and fight non-Muslims. So this hadith shows us even the non-Muslim elderly person has been given rights. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking, and all of the people in the masjid, there was an old man who came from the back of the masjid, and he wanted to split the ranks to get to the Nabi. Every time he would touch the shoulder of the people, they would turn around and look at him and move over, taking their time. They wouldn't make a way quickly for him. The Prophet saw what was going on. He said to the people, and he was angry, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Laysa minna man la yarham saghirana wa la yuwaqqir kabirana." He is not from us. He's not a real Muslim. He's not a mu'min. The one who doesn't have mercy upon our little ones. The little kids acting crazy, whatever, little children, your children. If you don't have rahmah, you're not from the good Muslims. And he's not from us, the ones who don't respect the elderly. The Nabi called the fact that the people didn't move out of the way quickly, he said that was disrespect to the elderly. Now look at this. In most masjids, in Manchester, Birmingham, London, Liverpool, wherever you go, most masjids, you'll find disrespect to the elderly left, right, and center, directly and indirectly. You go to any masjid, your local masjid, you'll find there's a place for the shoe rack for the shoes. The Muslims always kick their shoes off in the middle of the floor. Only a few of them put the shoe up. Now, that's disrespect to the elderly, because the Nabi said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's not from us, the one who doesn't respect the elderly. When they didn't make it easily accessible for the man to come through, the Nabi said that was disrespect. If the shoes are all over the place, this 21-year-old brother, he gets up, he walks, he trips on the shoes. He just gets up, wipes it off, and he keeps it moving. If an elderly person tripped over that shoe, he's going to break his wrist. He's going to break his hip. He's going to fall and hit his jaw and break his jaw. He's going to become concussed. So we already have to look down the line. Put the shoe up, because it's disrespect to the elderly. The Muslims have to make the masjid accessible to the people who are old. The toilet, akramakumullah, the toilet, he's not like the regular person. We have to make it easy where he parks in a special place. He's the one who has the right to sit on the chair. So the point here is, we have been commanded to put people in their proper places. And older people, they're not like regular people. If you get on the bus and there's an old bus driver, Muslim and non-Muslim, you have to deal with him a certain way. You have a business, you're dealing with a customer who's an old person. As soon as he walks through the door, you have to look at him a certain way. You go into a store, behind the counter is an old person. You have to deal with him a certain way. That's the deen. Your relatives who are old, you have to deal with them a certain way. The way the Muslim youth are today, the Muslim youth, they will actually fight with people who are older than them. Literally, physically fight with people, swear at them, tell them words that are unbelievable, that can come out of the mouth of someone who is only 21 and the man is 65 or 70 years old. So what are the rights of those elderly? They have a lot of rights in Islam. A lot. From them is that they have the right that we give them ihsan. Ihsan is just to generally be good to them, to make their lives easy. You're responsible, I'm responsible. With elderly people, it's our job to make sure they're not hungry, they're not cold, they're not tired, they're not hot, that they're comfortable, generally speaking. If there was a walima, and we all sat down and we were waiting till the food came out, and then they put the food up there. If that happened, you'll find that the old people are the last ones to be at the table. That the young people are going to jump up and get in line first. Automatically. That's the way we are, because we're not thinking. No, in Islam, the Muslim has to say to the older, that man is older than me, Shaykh, you go. He has to insist that. Now you pay attention to that, to the next walima you go to. You pay attention to that when they start serving the food here. Watch who's going to be in the line first. The older people are going to be behind, and it's the younger people who are going to be, and you can be one of the youngest, 35, 40, because we have people who are really older here. From their rights is that we have to give them ihsan. And this is something that is universal, ikhwani, in the story of Yusuf. Salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, no doubt, it's from the best stories, as Allah Ta'ala mentioned about the story. But one of the things that happened in the story is, as you know, it's a long story, Yusuf wanted to keep his brother Binyamin behind. When the other brothers first came, Yusuf gave them what they wanted and he added to what he gave them. He gave them what they didn't even pay for, to encourage them to come back. He said, listen, if you people come back, I'm not going to give you anything unless you bring your other brother, Binyamin, the brother of Yusuf, through his mother and father. They went to their father, they told him the story. They said, send the boy back with us. The father said, no, it may be that if I send him with you, you're going to do to him what you did with Yusuf. They said, if you don't send him, we're not going to get any provisions. So the father sent him. Yaqub sent the boy, Binyamin. When it was time for them to go, Yusuf came up with a plot and a plan. He told the people who worked for him, take the vessel of the king and plant it in the saddle of the young boy. And we're going to check his saddle last. And we're going to tell these people someone stole the vessel of the king. He said, who stole it? They said, we didn't steal it. He said, what's the reward if we find it with any of you? Say, you keep the one as ransom. So they started checking everyone's saddle, and then they came to Binyamin, and they found it. They found it. Yusuf said, I'm going to keep him, like you said. He's going to be ransomed. You have to go back without him. They had enough sense to know that older people deserve ihsan. How can the Muslim not know that? قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إنا نراك من المحسنين. They said to Yusuf, oh powerful man, Aziz, this boy, he has a father who is an old man, Shaykh, Kabir. So don't keep him. Keep one of us in his place. Because we see you as a person who is muhsin. You know how to give and do ihsan. They knew by Binyamin being kept behind, it's going to bother the father. And it's not acceptable for the father to be bothered like that because he's a Shaykh, Kabir. And we see you, Yusuf, as someone who can appreciate this. You're from the muhsinin. You know how to give ihsan to elderly people and other than that. So the hadith, the ayah, the story, that aspect goes to show that the real muhsin is the one who takes into consideration the condition of older people. Your father-in-law, that's your father-in-law, is older than you. He may be wrong, or he may be asking you to do something that you don't like, but he's older than you. It's your mother, that's your father, your aunt, that's your uncle, that's your grandmother, that's your grandfather. So they have the haqq to have al-ihsan. And al-ihsan, ikhwani, it means a lot of things, as I said. It means a lot of things. For an example, when the Prophet ﷺ conquered Mecca and he came to Mecca, he saw Abu Quhafa. Abu Quhafa is the father of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Abu Quhafa came, he was old, he was bent over, his hair was white, his beard was white, that man was old, radiyallahu anhu. Abu Bakr brought his father to the Nabi. Rasulullah told Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Lo aqrart al-shaykh fi baytihi la ataytuhu. If you would have only left him in his house, I would have come to him. The Prophet is the Sayyid of Bani Adam. He's the Rasul, the Khatam of the Anbiya and the Rasul. He has the Maqam al-Mahmud in Al-Jannah. He has the Shafa'at al-Kubra. And yet he's willing to go to that old man. Who are you? Who are you that you can't eat humble pie and bite the bullet for the person who's older than you and you have some misunderstanding? Who are you that you just can't say, I'm sorry? When they brought Abu Quhafa to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith also shows the love that the Nabi had for Abu Bakr. He did that because that's how he works with his friend as well. The old man and his friend simultaneously. I'm going to respect your father. You're my friend, you're my companion. I'm going to treat your father in a certain manner. When the Nabi looked at Abu Quhafa radiyallahu anhu, the Prophet told Abu Bakr, غَيِّرُوا هَذَا بِشَيْءٍ وَاجْتَنِبُوا السَّوَادِ. Abu Bakr, change the whiteness in your father. Change this with something and stay away from black. So when the Prophet saw the man was white like that, he told Abu Bakr, put some henna in his beard. Put some henna. Red henna, orange henna, brown henna, but stay away from black henna. So it's not permissible to use black henna, although it's an issue of ikhtilaf between the scholars. The point is, who did the Nabi tell to do that for the man? He told Abu Bakr. He didn't say to the man, Abu Bakr's father, change this in yourself. He told Abu Bakr, you people are responsible for changing this in your father. So from the rights of the elderly people is, if you have an older person under your supervision, you're taking his monthly money from the government. You're responsible for administering his affairs. Or maybe you don't get any money for him, but some people get money for them and they're living with you. You're taking the money and you're using the money, and yet you don't groom them. You're responsible for grooming your mother. Your daughter has to go and wash her hair and put oil in her hair and comb her hair. Your wife has to wash those clothes and iron those clothes. You have to take them to the doctor and so forth and so on. I'm a doctor. I'm a medical doctor, GP. An old person comes to me in my office, in my surgery. He's old. As a GP, he's not related to me, but as a Muslim, I've been ordered to deal with people a certain way. The elderly patient is not like the younger patient. Not that I should or could disrespect him, but I have to show more concern. No matter who I am as a Muslim, older people have to deal with them. So in the case of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and his father, the Nabi clearly indicated in this hadith, we're responsible for those. How is it? Someone has his mother, he did the honorable thing. He didn't put her in a convalescent home. He's taking care of his mother or his father. She's going senile or something. And then they put the mother or the father in the bed and just leave them like that without feeding them, without looking at them, without, turning them over. They have bed sores. It's abuse. Another issue that we have to understand, ikhwani, in the Quran, there are many ayat of the Quran, many ayat that draw our attention to the condition of old people. Allah Ta'ala said about our parents, إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما. If one or both of them become older in age, don't say uff to them and don't talk bad to them, but say the good word to them. From the rights of the older people, sometimes you'll find the older person is grumpy. He's a grumpy old man. Some of them are just like that. In our masjid, we got an old guy. I keep my kids away from him because he's always having trouble with the kids. He's always on the kids all the time. So what do you have to do when dealing with him? The ayah said, وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Say a nice word to him. The Shaykh says something out of place, you say, Jazakallah khairan, Shaykh. Barakallah fiqh, ya Shaykh. Inshallah, ya Shaykh. You don't say back to him what he said to you. That's one of the ayat that focus and make tarkeez on people who are older. Why is he a grumpy old man? Why? Why is that? He's a grumpy old man, akhi, because the man, he's been living 60 years, 70 years. He saw a lot of fitan in this life. You heard that hadith? The Shaykh, he mentioned the hadith, but he didn't translate it. But Prophet, he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the hadith that he mentioned, اقتربت الساعة ولا يزداد الناس إلا ولا يزداد الناس إلا حرصا على الدنيا وبعدا عن الله. The hour is close, and the people are just becoming more covetous of the dunya and further away from Allah. He was talking about how the dunya is just a big fitna, distraction. This old person, he was oppressed by his parents. He has children, they oppress him. He was kicked out of his country. He saw people murdered, the stuff that's going on. He used to have teeth. He used to eat with his teeth. We take it for granted. You get a burger outside, you just eat the burger. He can't eat a burger no more. He can't see anymore. He can't hear anymore. He used to be a hard worker. He purchased his own house without riba. He went to work and he purchased his own house. Hard worker. Now he can't go to work. He has to rely on Allah and then other people to look out for him. And they don't look out for him. He's grumpy. He has his mentality. That's just how it is. So Islam touched upon that in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, الله الذي خلقكم ثم يتوفاكم ومنكم من يرد إلى أرض العمر لكي لا يعلم بعد علم شيئا. Allah is the one who created you people, and Allah is the one who will cause you all to die, and from you are those who go back in old age, so that after knowing some things you don't know anything at all. Why did Allah mention that ayat in the Quran? Many ayat like that. He becomes old, he becomes senile. He's in the house with a brother. He's responsible for his auntie. She's old lady, senile. They keep her tied up upstairs. Tied up. She is chained because it's for her own good. She got out of the chains. She came downstairs to where the majlis was with no clothes on, in front of everybody. Why? Her condition. Allah mentioned that in the Quran. Those people, they need to be dealt with in a certain way. And from how they should be dealt with, we're responsible for giving them ihsan. From their huquq as well, from their huquq is the taqdeem should be given to them. They should be given preference, as I told you. You and the Shaykh are about to come into the door at the same time. You give him preference over yourself. You're on the right. Get on the other side of him and let him get in. The chair between you and the Shaykh, you let the Shaykh sit there in the chair and let him sit by the heat. You let him do it. The Nabi said he saw in the dream, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the dreams of the prophets is wahi. He said he saw in a dream that two men came to him, one older, one younger. He had a miswak. He gave the miswak to the younger one. Jibril came to him in his dream and said, Ya Muhammad kabbir. Ya Muhammad, choose the bigger one. So the Nabi took the miswak from the younger one and gave it to the older one in his dream. 3 companions. They went to a place where they come from called Khaybar. It's close to Al-Madina. 3 of them. When they arrived at that place, one of them saw that his brother had been murdered. His brother was murdered. He was there on the ground. He said, I have to find out what happened. He went to the Nabi with the other 2. It was his brother who was murdered, and he was the youngest out of the 3. He came to the Nabi to tell the story. When he started to talk, the Prophet did like this, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kabbir al-kubr. Kabbir al-kubr. He told that man, let the eldest one speak first. Let the eldest one speak first. We don't even have that stuff. The Shaykh is here. The Shaykh Abu Abdullah, Mohammad Al-Malki is here. An older man is talking to him. The younger man just comes in as if the older man doesn't exist and says, Shaykh, what about this? What about? Ya akhi, kabbir al-kubr. Kabbir al-kubr. Let the elder one speak. You're working at your job. There's a dispute between you and Mr. Johnson, the kafir, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson is 65 years old. 65 years old. You're 21, you're 30, you're 45. You go before the boss to solve the dispute. The boss says, okay, Abu, what happened? With all due respect, Mr. Johnson is older than me. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson. If you can do that. Now, if it's not politically correct or advantageous for you to do that because it's your job, then maybe you don't do that. You have to weigh those situations. But the point is, the Muslim has been commanded to weigh people. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the salat yesterday, I heard Abu Suhaib mention about that little boy that we talked about as well a little bit, who was 7 years old and he led his people in the salat. He led his people in the salat because there is a hadith that said, let the one who memorized the most Quran lead. But there's another hadith that said, let the eldest one lead the salat. There's another hadith that says, let the eldest one lead in the salat, lead the people in the salat. Scholars of Islam said one of the wisdoms in that is that younger people, although they may memorize the Quran more, the lack of experience, they don't know how to implement the Quran. That's why the Khawarij, the Nabi said about the Khawarij that they were hudatha al-asnan, sufaha al-ahlam. They have small teeth and they have crazy ideas. Small teeth, meaning that they're young. In Somalia, our Somalia. I don't believe everything that the media says. I don't. But Somalia as a country is in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the longest civil war known to mankind. 20 years, 21 years. a man from the Somali community, he's 60, 70 years old, he would never, ever, ever come up with the idea, I'm about to die, I may have 2, 3, 4 good years, Allahu A'lam, I'm about to die, I'm so old, so what I'm going to do is do a good deed to get close to Allah, I'm going to take a bomb, and I'm going to go and blow people up. I'm going to blow these ministers up, and go to Jannah. An old man will never say that. The only person who will think like that are the shabab, the real shabab, Somali shabab, or just young people. Crazy ideas, crazy ideas. The older man, older people, and this is why I'm telling you guys, some of you young brothers, you want to get married, and sometimes your parents are telling you things like, don't do this and don't do that. You may be a person who's exposed to the sunnah and you have more knowledge about the deen, but there's no substitute for experience. I tell my kids, because I was in Jahiliyyah, and one thing I can't stand for my son, 25 years old, to think, I was born in the nighttime. I was born in real life in the nighttime, but I wasn't born last night. I know what time it is. So don't treat me like I'm Frank Sausage Head. I know what time it is. This is my son, 21. He's exposed to these streets. I'm going to tell this boy, hey, don't treat me as your brother, your uncle, like I don't know what's going on. I know what's going on. Our youngsters, they think that older people don't have a clue. Sometimes the parents don't have a clue. Parent came from Somalia, came from Pakistan, and they're inside the house closed. So they don't know what's going on. They don't know what the kid is doing on the computer other than that. But sometimes your parents do know what's going on. So the point here is, the point that we're trying to make right now is, the Nabi told the older people should leave the salat. The young person, he starts to pray and he wants to read Surah Al-Baqarah. The older man, he says no. He knows, like the hadith said, إِذَا صَلَّى أَحَدُكُمْ بِالنَّاسِ فَلْيُخَفِّفْ فَإِنَّ مِنْ وَرَائِهِ الْكَبِيرِ وَالصَّغِيرِ وَالْمَرِيدِ وَذَا الْحَاجَةِ. If any of you lead the people in the salat as the imam, make your salat short and light, because behind you, praying behind you, are older people. Behind you are people who are sick. Behind you are people who have to go to work. They have something to do. Behind you are people who they're infirm. So the older person, he understands that. Younger people, they're not like that. I'm going to travel from here to London, 4 hours driving. I got to take into consideration little man right there. They say, As-Saghir huwa al-Amir. As-Saghir huwa al-Amir. The little one is the Amir. We have to get to London and we have a deadline. When that boy say, Abby, I got to go to the toilet, man. I can't say to him, hey, hold it, boy. Just 2 more hours. I have to pull off and I have to let that man take care of his business. The younger person, he's going to say, no, we can hold it, you can hold it. So the point is, Khwani, older people, usually, from their experience, we have to appreciate this. Older people from experience understand issues. And that's why the Nabi says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-baraka ma akabirikum. Al-baraka ma akabirikum. The barakah is with your elders. The barakah, the blessings, is with the people who are older. He said, inna min ashrat as-sa'a and yultamis al-ilm inda al-asaghir. From the signs of the hour, Yawm al-Qiyamah, is that people will search for knowledge with the youngsters. Abdullah ibn Mubarak and Imam Ahmed, Al-Bukhari, they said the youngsters in this hadith is talking about people of innovation. But it's the young people usually the people of innovation. People of Hizb Tahrir. BBC interviews the guy. What are you going to do if you people are allowed to establish the Khilafah here in the UK? What are you going to do? Out of all of the things that he could have said, out of all of the things a young man could have said, he said, anyone who doesn't wear hijab, we're going to kill him. Does that make sense to you? Old people don't say things like that. Older people with experience don't say things like that. People who are young, they are more prone to falling into the shiddah and the ghulu of these people, whether it's the people claiming Salafiyah, whether it's people on the madhab, whether it's the people, whatever it's doing, it's the people of ghulu. The Khawarij, small teeth, and crazy ideas. Small teeth and crazy ideas. Now I want to complete this by bringing it full circle, because anytime you give a khutbah, there's always another side to the story. There's always a context of what's being said. And time doesn't always allow for you to do the complete context. So the older person may sit there and say, oh, alhamdulillah, finally, I'm better than the young people. Young people have nothing to say. Young people have no need. La, there's another context. In the story of respecting your parents, Khidr killed that man, that little boy in front of Musa, killed him, did his hand like this and his head came off. Musa said, أَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا زَكِيَّةً بِغَيْرِ نَفْسٍ? Did you kill someone who was innocent? He said, didn't I tell you can't be patient with me? Some parent, he killed them. Why? Because he was bad to his parents and they were afraid he became a kafir, that he makes his parents become kuffar. So Allah killed him through Khidr so that he will replace him with a better child for the parents. So the parent reads that ayat of the Quran and the mother or the father said, you know I can kill you, I can kill you because Khidr killed the man. Nah, that's not, there's a context. So to bring the context of today's talk full circle, I think it was Abu Suhaib. I think it was Abu Suhaib who mentioned the hadith of the man who came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the bowl of milk, and the Nabi was sitting there, and to the right of the Nabi was the young man, and to the left was Abu Bakr and other people. The owner of the house came in, and usually we should start from the right. So technically speaking, the man should have or could have went directly to him and started with him because he's on the right. But he left him. We know that Abu Bakr is on his right because Abu Bakr was to the left of the Nabi. At least Abu Bakr was there. So he could have started with Abu Bakr because the right. But he didn't. He started with the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he's the most knowledgeable, because he's not like everybody else, because he's your father, because he's your uncle, because he's your father-in-law, he's a guest, and so forth and so on. So when we shake hands and there are multiple people, you're going to start to the right. But right there in front of you is your father-in-law. Next to him is someone else. No problem, you can start with him. You're coming into the door. We should start with the right. But the youngsters on the right and the elders on the left, you don't have to start on the right here, especially if you know that the elder is going to get upset. We have a brother here who's from Nigeria. In Nigeria, especially in the south, people in Lagos, in that area, one of the ways you respect older people is you have to bend down to them. You have to bow down to them. And if you don't bow down, they look at that as disrespect. You have bad training. But Islam, you can't bow down to anyone. You can't bow down to the martial artists. You can't do that. You're training and you have a bona fide sensei teaching you something. You can't bow down to that guy. You can't make ruku, you can't make sajda, none of that. In our deen. That's only for Allah. So the elders in certain communities, the father, he forces me to get married to my cousin. I don't have much in common with her. She's back from the mountains in Peshawar. I don't have anything in common with her. But he's going to make me. And my father says in the community, the elders, if I don't listen to him, it's a sign I don't respect him. What are you talking about, elders? He has a right to make a decision. The girl has a right to make a decision. The elders are not correct in these issues right here. You have to convince him. You have to talk to him. You have to talk to her. The man, he came, he gave the Nabi the milk. The Nabi drank some. The Nabi looked to his right and he said to the boy, you have more right than anyone else because you're on my right. If you want, you can drink or you can let the elder drink, Abu Bakr. The boy, being from the Ansar al-Sunnah, being from those people who love the Sunnah, being from those people who the Sunnah is more beloved to him than everything else, he said, La wallahi, I'm not going to give anyone preference over you when it comes When it comes to me, when it comes to you, I'm not going to give anyone preference. So the boy wanted to take the milk to drink from the same place where the Nabi drunk for barakah. We believe in that. Alul Hadith, we believe in barakah. We believe in that. The wudu water of the Nabi, barakah. The sweat of the Nabi, barakah. The blood of the Nabi, barakah. His hair, barakah. We believe in that. If it was here, we believe in that. But it ain't here. It's not here. I don't care how big the Shaykh is. I don't care if that Shaykh glows in the dark. He glows in the dark. He comes up here and he drinks the water, and after he leaves, we're going to get up and fight for the water? La. No matter who he is. We're not fighting for his water. Because he's got barakah. We don't believe that. With the Nabi. Because they say, Wahhabis don't believe in this. No. You can make a tabarruk, barakah from the Nabi. You can do that. His companions did that. Sometimes with his knowledge, sometimes without his knowledge, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But we don't find any of the companions doing it with each other, doing it with Abu Bakr and Uthman, or any of them. So that hadith of the milk, it goes to show, and it was Abu Abdullah who mentioned this, because I remember he brought a point from it that was a nice point, and that was, one of the benefits of the Prophet doing this is that it gives the child in his tarbiyah a sense of meaning and a sense of he is made to feel he's someone. I thought that was a nice point. Another benefit of it is they have rights. And it's not permissible for you to usurp their rights because you're their mother or their father. So what my grandmother used to say, many black people, they say that in America. They say, I brought you into the world and I could take you out. You can't do that. That's a famous saying. You can't do that. Allah brought me into the world through you, and you can't take me out. You can't kill someone. What they were trying to say was, if it wasn't for Allah and then me, you wouldn't be here. And that is consistent with Al-Islam. So the younger person and the older person, father and the son, mother and the son. If face value, we had to ask, who's better? The older person or the younger? The older person is better. He has more rights. The man used to work hard, and he would save his money up every day. And his father would come in and take his money and take his money and take his money and take his money. And the man realized his father was taking his money. He went to the Nabi to complain, my father is taking my money, Ya Rasulullah. I go out in that desert and I work every day, that sweat. And when I come home, he keeps stealing my money. And you know that the Nabi, he didn't like stealing. He said if a person steals, he's not a mu'min while he's stealing. You're allowed to get your hand chopped off. Your hand can get chopped off if you steal. The Nabi didn't like dhulm. He was a Nabi of rahmah. He wouldn't even bear witness when the father wanted to give one child a gift and not the other child. And he wanted the Nabi to be the witness. He said, I'm not going to witness oppression. So what do you think was his position when the man came and said, my father is taking my money? The Nabi told the boy, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, anta wa maluka li abik. You and your money belong to your father. You and the money that you have in your pocket, it belongs to your father. The meaning of that, it's not okay for your father to take your money. That's not okay. But you have to put it in perspective. If it wasn't for my father after Allah, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have no money. If it wasn't for him, that boy wouldn't be here. My father is a direct result of that kid being here. So when he does something, I have to be patient with the situation. I can't poke him in his eyes. I can't punch him in his face. So that's if your parents are older, especially, they even deserve more respect and more reverence. So, in concluding, the call here and the message here for everybody here, respect people who are older, whether they happen to be kuffar or Muslims, but especially the Muslims. When you meet people, everybody is not the same. You have to weigh people when you meet them. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله التوفيق والسداد.